Hi, it's me, Jazzy. I'm back with another tech-related video, and today I'm taking a look at a new and rather interesting product from Alientek. It's a 3-in-1 digital multimeter, oscilloscope and signal generator. Yep, this is the DM40C, and it's 3 devices in one. It promises a lot of things, but is it any good? We're going to find out today. So first of all, many thanks to Alientek for sending me over this DM40C for review. They've sent me this review sample at no cost, so we can take a closer look at it. So what does it do? Well, it's a 4.5 digit, 60,000 count True-RMS multimeter. It also promises a 10 MHz oscilloscope with a 10-bit ADC and a 50 megasamples a second sampling rate. It seems to have a lot packed into a small size, but is it any good? Let's get it over on the bench and take a closer look. Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Oh, it looks like we've got some extras here. Ooh. Hey, I think they've given us the upgraded probes with this. These are the silicon ones. Nice. So we got the DM40, and this is the luxury model. Oh yeah, that's why we got the extra silicon probes. These look nice probes, to be fair. So thank you, Alientek, for sending me the upgraded probes. It's very nice. Oh, here we go. We've got some stuff on the bottom here. And this has some unique features, including the ability to do a AC and DC measurement at the same time. I kid you not. Scan for user manual. Seeing that more and more on products these days. So it's a multimeter, it's an oscilloscope and a signal generator with a touch screen. So what do we have in here? More probes? Oh, we got more stuff here, yeah. Okay, so we got, what do we got? So mini 2 croc clip. We've got a tiny screwdriver. We've got some sort of temperature probe here. We've got a very smart looking USB cable, USB A to C. And we've got our scope probe here with our mini scope connection on it. We have got a book in here. So you turn it over, you've got the English version of the instruction manual. Now you know what I'm like with instructions. What I like to see is decent size of colour photos that I can actually follow, rather than tiny print that I can't make head nor tail of. This is endless, isn't it? It's like the old computer paper I used to get. Right, so I'm sure that's going to tell us everything we're going to need to know about the DM40. And here's the unit itself. Right, let's unwrap. Right, here we go. So we have the Alientek logo in Chinese there. A nice looking screen, 3.5 inch IPS panel. So we've got our standard connections there for the multimeter side of things. We've got our scope connections here. Brilliant. And we've got a USB-C power there. What have we got on the back? Is this the stand, is it? Okay. Nice. I like the stand, which doubles as a fidget spinner. Very nice. Okay, it must be about that time we take the peel off then. Very nice. And switch on here. Well, that's nice and clear, isn't it? So we've got 4 options here: multimeter, oscilloscope, signal and settings. So if we touch multimeter, because this is a touch screen, that's really nice and clear, isn't it? We've come a long way from the days of really dim little LCD displays on multimeters, haven't we? It looks really clear and crisp, and we've got a graph display down the bottom here as well. So we're on volts at the moment, so we've got current here, we've got resistance, capacitance. Oh, the graph's running already, that's cool. We've got diode and continuity there, and we've got frequency and temperature there. That's so simple. And we've got down the side here 4 different little touch legends here: menu, run, auto and DMF. So if you do menu, that'll take you back to there. We can look at the oscilloscope screen. Again, nice and clear. And we're going to test each of these functions out in a moment. So we've got the signal generator screen there. There we go, and that takes us into settings, which is nice and simple. You've got language, power, so you can change your power options here. So if you want the screen to dim after 5, 10 or 30 minutes, or you can turn that off. Same with the shutdown mode to save battery. You can have 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, or never. Your start page, you can select if you want it to start on the main page with the 4 options, or you can start it up in multimeter, oscilloscope or signal generator mode, depending on the one you use the most. I think that's really cool. Then we've got backlight and volume settings there, and other settings. You've got USB connection, factory reset. We've got an anti-drop, mode remember, and Bluetooth. We're going to explore all those in a moment, and that gives you details about the device, and that confirms this is the DM40C. There's 3 different versions of the DM40, the A, B and C, and they all have slightly different spec. This is the C, which is the top one, and you can see we've got our bootloader software and hardware versions there, so it's all very nice and easy to understand. So the menu is nice and easy to use. As far as the instruction book goes, here is the specifications. If you want to take a look at the specifications, you can freeze frame this and have a look at for yourself. You've got the multimeter, oscilloscope and signal generator parameters there, as well as the parameters for the probe. Let's take a look at putting the probes together first. So we've got our nice deluxe probes here. So these look great. These are the silicone ones. Very nice. They've got a bit of weight to them, but not too much. I do like the right angled connections. So these are Cat 3, 1000 volt, 20 amp. Safety covers and probe tips in here, and a little spanner. Gold plated as well. Very nice. So these should just screw in. Really nice and easy to do. These are decent looking probes. Of course, we've got our tiny spanner here, so we can tighten these up properly. So I won't go too tight. And of course, we have got the safety covers on there, so you don't impale yourself on the probe. The covers are just one piece though, so there isn't a protector. Normally you'd see a protector sleeve to protect part of this probe. At least you have got that to protect yourself and the probe while it's in storage. Right, let's do this one. And tiny spanner. Great. There we go. Okay, that's our probes ready. So looking at the I/O on the top here, we have got our USB for charging and for comms with the PC, and there's a little reset hole there as well. So this connection here is for your signal generator, and this connection is for your oscilloscope. Okay, so let's hook up our probes then. Alright, let's have a look at multimeter mode first then. We can check out some continuity. So if we go to continuity mode, so that's taking it to diode mode, so press again, goes to continuity. Right, let's have a look, shall we? These are super sharp. Oh yeah. That's pretty good. That's decent, that is. Yeah. Happy with that. Alright, so we're going to have a quick look at resistance. So we go into resistance mode. It's on auto at the moment. Now, we can rel out the cables for this measurement. So you just touch on there. You can see it's put it into 600 ohm range. Okay, so let's start with 1 ohm. Alright, we got 1.01. Let's go for 10. 10.01. Okay, pretty good. I like the way the graph steps up there. That's cool. And let's go for 100. 100.08. Okay. And 500. 503.39. Okay, so it's a little bit more out the further up we go, isn't it? When we go to 1K, probably going to have to go back to auto mode. Yeah, there we go. 1.0085. Normally, if it's on auto mode, you wouldn't have to change that. It would sort itself out. But because I railed out the cables, it put it in the 600 ohm range. So just switching back to auto gives me that reading. So let's go into capacitance. Now we know we've got a residual on this box of 160 picofarads. I always look for that when I hook any meter up to this, and it's measuring it as 0.21 nanofarads. Let's have a go anyway. Alright, so 1 nanofarad, 10 nanofarads. Alright, not bad. 100 nanofarads. Yeah, 100.6, okay. I mean, it's pretty quick, isn't it? It's pretty quick to respond. I like the big display. That's really nice. That wins bonus points, in my opinion. I love nice, easy to read displays like this. Right, so let's go for 1 microfarad, and it does quite nicely, and we've got 1.010. So you can see what I mean about the display. That's really nice and clear compared to some of my older meters like this Uni-T one. It's a good meter, but in certain lights, as you can see, it can be quite hard to read the display. This is really, really nice. Alright, so in terms of capacitance, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty quick to read it. Alright, so 10,000 microfarad test. So let's have a look. This does catch some meters out. Some don't like it. Let's see if it works it out. I mean, it's going to take it time to charge this up. It's a big capacitor. It's doing it. Yeah, it gets there. It's not bad either. 9.88 millifarads, 9.89. Right, let's have a look at some DC volts then, shall we? Let's see what we can do here. Right, cables are not causing me too many problems. That's good. So let's power up the PDV S2 Mini. This is a precision voltage reference device. Right, so let's have a quick go through here. So 1 volt, lovely. 2, it's very quick and very accurate. Can't be too mad at that, can you? What's the linearity like? Are we losing any as we go up, or are we alright? Oh, yeah. Okay, 7 volts. 8, spot on almost. 9. It's pretty quick as well, isn't it? 10. What about 0.1 volts? Alright. Yeah. 0.01. 0.001. 0.0001. Yeah, there we go. That is not bad at all, is it? And it's pretty quick to react to changes. Okay. I'm impressed. Good. The resolution on this is good. Very good. Alright, okay, let's try it with some higher voltages. Okay, so we can only go up to 10 volts on the precision voltage reference. So let's hook it up to the bench power supply. We can give it 60. Yep. There we go, 60.123 volts. Okay, now let's go for 120 volts. Yeah, there you go. 120.16. Now, a really unique feature of the DM40C, and it's available on the B and C models but not the A, is you can measure simultaneously AC and DC volts. Now that seems to me to be very cool. So as you can see, we're on DC volts at the moment, nothing unusual in that. If I press this again, it'll go to AC volts, and if I press it one more time, we've got both. So we can see that the Farnell power supply is giving me 19.454 volts, which it is, 19.454 volts there DC, but I'm also getting in the mix there a small amount of AC voltage. Now this could be very, very useful to see if you're checking a circuit and you want to see if you've got any AC voltage present where you shouldn't have. So at 30 volts, we're getting a little bit of AC in the mix, not much, but there does seem to be a point there at which you get rather a lot of AC in the mix, where you're changing voltages on the power supply. You see now I've switched the power supply off, we're getting a bit more AC voltage. And of course you've got your little graph down the bottom there. So that's what I'm getting off of my Fandar power supply at 24 volts, because that's currently running the studio lights, so I have to have it set to 24 volts. It is giving me a little smattering of AC voltage there. Interesting. Okay, and if I try my switch mode power supply here, so at 60 volts, yeah, we're getting a little bit of AC. If I go for 120, yeah, 120, we're getting a little bit there. Okay, so let's have a look at frequency. We haven't done frequency yet. Right, okay, here we go. So my signal generator is set to 1 kilohertz. So, oh yeah, straight away, 1 kilohertz. Okay, let's go 10. Yeah. Oh, that's bang on, isn't it? 100. Oh, look at that. Okay, so what if I go down there? Let's go down the other end. Let's go 1 hertz. And not so much. 10. Yeah, so it'll do 10 hertz. It didn't like 1. It'll do 5. Kind of pushing it. I think that we're on the limit there. I think the most I can go on this frequency generator is 2 megs. And yeah, straight in. Alright, good on frequency. Alright, so we saw as we were down the low end, sort of between 1 and 5 hertz, it was struggling a little bit, but that's kind of on the edge of its spec. But it's really quick. Right, let's have a quick look at temperature then. We'll run through all of the functions of the multimeter before we move on. As I always say, it wouldn't be a thorough test if I didn't test it thoroughly. Okay, so this readout here is the temperature of the multimeter itself. So it's given you 29.8 degrees C is the temperature of the multimeter, and the probe on top of my Fandar power supply is reading 34.9 degrees C or 95.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Right, let's have a look at diode mode. It will also give you a different beep depending on the range that your diode is in. So if I look at this one here first, got 1 beep there. So 1 short beep tells me it's less than 0.75 volts. But you can see it's giving me 0.5587 volts. It's also giving me a resistance there of 739 ohms. So you'll see when we check this first diode, we got 1 beep. So if we check one that's a different voltage, we've got 2 beeps there. And 2 beeps means it's less than 0.45. So less than 0.75, you get 1 beep. Less than 0.45, you get 2 beeps. There you go. Right, so if I look at this diode bridge here, so I should get 1 beep here, 0.49, and if I go across the bridge, we're going to get 3 beeps, because that's 0.91. Yeah, so less than 1.5 volts gives you 3 beeps, which you can see there. And if you have a diode that is less than 0.02, it will do 1 long beep, but I couldn't lay my hands on a diode of that smaller value for the test. So there you go, diode mode, very handy. Something else I've just noticed about this meter, you've got the cool stand on the back, but you've also got magnets. I didn't realise that. That's rather handy, isn't it? Okay, so moving on to the oscilloscope screen. So you can see we've got our horizontal trigger position there, vertical trigger position there. So you've got your running status there. There's your time base. There's your channel configuration there. And that's your trigger there. You can change that from the trigger menu there. And you can change that to auto, normal or single, rising or falling. vertical scale there. That's set to 100 millivolts at the moment, but you can just adjust that easily. The touch screen's cool. I like the touch screen. That makes life easy. So this is your math scale that you can change down here. So everything's adjustable. If you go to the menu there, look, so you've got all your measurement options in there, and there are many. You can choose what you want to display on the screen. You can change your brightness, grid intensity. You can change your trigger settings there, which you can also do by pressing the trigger button. And you've got your settings menu there. Press that again, comes off. This changes your scope to auto, which it's already in auto, but if it's not, press auto. There you go, see, set it weight there. So if you've hooked a signal into this, you can literally just press auto, much as I can on my Fluke scope. Just press auto and it will immediately display the signal. And then of course you can still go back to menu as well. So as with any brand new oscilloscope probe, we will need to do our probe compensation. It doesn't have a test point on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the output from the signal generator part of this device. So we're going to plug our oscilloscope probe into here, and then the lead that we got with the croc clips here is going to plug into the signal generator output. Nice and easy. So experienced oscilloscope users will know how to compensate a probe, but I don't think it's something I've featured on the channel before. So if you've not done it before, you just connect the positive to your oscilloscope probe, connect the ground to your ground, move that out of the way, and I'm going to put my oscilloscope probe on times 10. There we go. So that's all set there. We haven't got to worry about that. So then we go into our signal generator screen, and we want to set this to square wave. There we go. And we want to set the frequency to 1 kilohertz. So we can do that here, 1 kilohertz. Okay. Lovely. Voltage peak to peak wants to be 3 volts, which it is, but if it's not set at 3 volts, you just use the sliding scale there to change that. I'm going to leave that at 3 volts, duty's fine. So then we go back to menu and oscilloscope. There we go. This is where we need to compensate our probe. This is overcompensated at the moment. This should be a nice flat square wave. If it's undercompensated, you'll see these curves going the other way. So what we need to do is find a tiny screwdriver that can go in here so we can adjust the probe compensation. There we go. You can see as you turn that, see that edge coming down? See, that's perfect. So if you go too far, that's undercompensated. What you want is a nice square. I'm quite happy with that. So there you go. It's quite handy that you can just put the output from the signal generator into the oscilloscope. It's an advantage of an all-in-one unit. So if I go back to my signal generator, I can change this to a sine wave. Okay, and then I can go back to my oscilloscope, and there we go, we've got our sine wave there. Fantastic. We can change our time base there. We can go down or we can go up. Just tapping the screen. It's quite nice that you can do that. You can just tap the screen. And if the great thing is, if you're just getting started with scopes and you end up way out somewhere and you've no idea what you've done, just hit auto and it'll sort it out for you. There you go. You can change your vertical here, look. And you can just bring that down just by touching the screen. I quite like that. I quite like that. I quite like the touch screen. You can change your coupling as well if you press in the middle there from AC to DC. Just press it again, gets rid of it. This does your maths calculations and stuff. And of course it gives you, this is what I love about a digital scope, it gives you all sorts of information across the bottom. You've got the frequency of your sine wave there, which we know is 1 kilohertz. Your voltage peak to peak is around 300 millivolts. You've got your duty cycle there, which is around 1000 microseconds. And your RMS voltage of around 180 millivolts. That's pretty useful. And of course you go into the signal generator, you can change your wave if you don't want a sine wave. Look, you've got a triangle wave there. We'll go back to the scope. It's all very quick. I like how quick it is to move around. There you go. Adjust your time base. And again, if you mess it up, you just hit auto and it takes you back to where you want to be. That's really cool. This is quite a beginner-friendly oscilloscope. So you've got, as well as triangular wave, you've got a sawtooth wave there. If you go back to oscilloscope, I like how quick it is to move around. I love the fact that you can just move it up and down with just dragging. You can move your horizontal and vertical axis, look, just by dragging. That's cool. This is really user friendly. I love the touch screen. The actual signal generator part of it is so easy to use because you just choose what waveform you want there. Sine, square, sawtooth, triangular. Change your frequency there, so you can just type in what you want. So if you want to have 20 kilohertz, for example, just go 20 kilohertz, okay. And then when you go back to your scope, you've got your 20 kilohertz there, and you can cheat and press auto and it will display it nicely for you so you can see what's going on with your waveform. Love that. I love things that make life easy for me. So in the signal generator, the frequency wise, it'll go from 1 hertz to 50 kilohertz, and it does say in the information that the square wave also supports 100k, 200k, 500k, 1 meg, 2 meg, 5 meg and 10 meg frequency points. Now obviously what we haven't tried yet and what we're going to try is we'll put a signal in from an external signal generator. Maybe we'll have a look at some ripple from one of my power supplies on here, see what we can pick up, because this does the maths for me rather than me having to work it out from the display on my analog scope. Let me try that on my switch mode here. Wow, look at that. So that's on my switch mode power supply at 1 volt. Goodness me, that's rather a lot. Can we see? Yeah, we can see those spikes. Look at that. See, now normally I'd be having to work this out by myself, but fortunately, because we've got the maths, it's giving me all the readings down the bottom there. So I can see my power supply ripple at 1 volt. Let's go for 5 volts. Yeah, you can see that. See, this is pretty handy. I like this. Alright, so let's hook it up to my signal generator here. So just for a quick test, so we have got 10 kilohertz. Beautiful. Very nice, and we can expand that out. So yeah, if you want that perfect, just go to auto. That'll sort that out for you. So we can see, yeah, we're bang on there. Look, 10 kilohertz. Fantastic. 20 kilohertz. Spot on. 1 kilohertz. Yep, it knows it. 1 kilohertz. Right. 2 megahertz. Yep, not a problem. 2 megahertz. Let's go right down. 10 hertz. Yeah, there you go. 10 hertz. 1 hertz. Yeah, we're kind of on the level of what it'll do now. Square wave. Yeah. Triangle. Yeah. Noise output. Yeah, okay, it's cool. I like it. Really simple to use. Nice. So here's the output from the signal generator on my analog scope. It's actually quite smooth. This is quite a nice looking sine wave on here. Okay, here's the square. Not bad. Triangle waves looking good. Sawtooth, yeah. And of course you can adjust your voltage there. This is what I like, having the touch screen. The touch screen is very handy. And of course we can change our frequency there if we want. There you go. Nice. Yeah. Square wave at 100 kilohertz. Absolutely bang on. Look at that. Perfect. 1 meg. Awesome. And 10 meg. Now it does have an app, so you can Bluetooth information to your phone. Unfortunately, it only supports Android, so I'm unable to test that as I don't have an Android phone. All my phones here are iOS. Now, interestingly, not only can you update the firmware by plugging it into your PC, but you can also set a custom boot logo, so we'll have a go at that in a sec. And you can download all your screenshots that you've taken. You can also change your time base by just single tapping on the screen. So if you want to expand out your time base, just tap there. If you want to tighten it up, just tap there. Now another cool feature, if you want to take a screenshot, you need 3 points of contact. So 3 fingers, swipe down, little beep, and it'll say print screen OK, and it'll save that, and we can download that onto the PC. So if you want to have a look at your waveform, you've got it set up on the screen quite nice. You've got all your info down there, 3 fingers, swipe down, beeps, and it'll save that, so we can take a look at that on the PC in a moment. That's very cool. That will also work in the multimeter mode as well. So if you're in multimeter, again, swipe down, it'll take a screenshot. Very cool. And sliding 2 fingers down will tell it to shut down. There you go. Swipe to the right, and that turns the unit off. Very cool. And then just press the power button on the side there to turn it back on when you're ready. You can change the splash screen as well that comes up when you start the unit up. So we're going to take a look at that now. Let's hook it up to the PC and see how easy it is to update the firmware and how easy it is to get the screenshots off the unit. So you can download the firmware from the Alientek website. I'll put the link in the video description, and it downloads as a zip file, which once you unzip you get this folder, DM40 3-in-1 multimeter. There's a couple of PDF manuals on there. There's a folder with Bluetooth apps, which are APK files. So if you've got an Android, they're good for you. You've got all your firmware in here. Now the latest version seems to be version 2.3, which I've already got installed on my particular meter, so I don't need to upgrade it any further. But if yours is on an older version, I would suggest upgrading it to 2.3. You've also got some information here in a text document that gives you all the updates of what they've done for each version of firmware. And you've got the logos from the splash screen, so you can put those back if you decide to change your logo and delete the existing one. So you've also got a PDF of the user manual, which is the most up-to-date. You can see the versions down here. Version 1.5 is the latest user manual. It's got all the latest information where they've updated it every so often. So when you scroll down, it's quite comprehensive. You do get a paper copy of the quick start manual with the meter, but if you download this, you've got everything. There's all the technical parameters, all the specs for the multimeter section. You can freeze frame this if you want to have a better look. There's all the specs for the scope and the signal generator and the probes. And it goes into great detail. It's a good manual. You've got some nice color photos showing how to use the meter. And you've got another one here for the oscilloscope and signal generator sections of the meter. Again, a lot of this is covered in the quick start guide you get in the box. It's nice that they give you so much information though. It's always welcome. Now, when you plug the meter into your PC, you go into settings and USB mode, and you get the USB symbol on the screen to show it's connected. This just opens as a folder on your PC. You can see there ATK DM40. On mine it's opened as drive G. There's all the images that you've screenshotted. So there's our signal generator there. There's another one here showing the oscilloscope screen, the sine wave. You can zoom them up. They're pretty good resolution. This is great information that you can capture this at any moment by doing the 3-finger swipe on the screen. There's one from the multimeter showing a power supply. You can see the graph down there. It's a capacitance reading. You can capture at any point on any screen, any menu screen. There's your voltage settings, for instance. There's the signal generator, and here's the settings in the oscilloscope. So this is showing all the options that you could display at the bottom of the screen, and the ones are in yellow there that are already displayed. And there's your splash screen logo. So you can change that out. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy that so I've got a backup of that one, and then just delete that out. And you can put in your own one. Now this is pretty cool. This is a nice little thing. So I've just added in there the Jaztec logo, so we can see when we start up the device, we should get that as our splash screen. That's actually quite a nice little touch. Right, let's have a try now when I power up. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? It's only on for a fraction of a second, but it's the little things in life. So there you go, the Alientek DM40, in this case the DM40C. Well, it's certainly got a lot going for it. Things that I like about it, well, the display is great. I love the big, easy to read display, and it matches the case, which is an added bonus. I think it's quite user friendly, especially the oscilloscope section and the signal generator. So if you're someone that's not worked with these things a lot, you could do worse than start off with this one. I think it's got a lot of functions. It's not that complicated to understand. The touch screen is really rather good. I like the diode measurement with the beeps. You don't get that many meters that do beeps on diode mode, and this one does. I think that's a really useful feature. It seems very accurate. I think for the money, this is excellent. We saw across all the tests that I did, it was fairly responsive and fairly accurate. Just what you want from a digital multimeter. The oscilloscope section was easy to use, and so was the signal generator. And we saw with the signals I was measuring from my external signal generator, it was pretty much bang on. I quite like the stand, even though initially it might not seem like it's much, but it is enough to hold it, and it does actually stay in place. The fact you've got magnets on the back, I absolutely love that. You can magnet it to various things. It's got a bit of a rubber bumper around the outside to give it a bit of protection, but I get the feeling you're going to need to be a little bit careful with the touch screen. I like the graph, that's really cool, and the fact that you can do the screen captures and load them onto your PC. I wasn't able to try the app, unfortunately, as they've only got an Android version at the moment, but they have said there's an iOS version in the pipeline. So what did I find that I didn't like about the DM40C? Not much, really. The screen captures, although they're great, when you do the screen capture, it lags for just a few seconds, not much. After you've done the 3-finger drag down the screen, it lags for just a couple of seconds while it catches up. I mean, it's not really a major problem. I don't think screen grabs are something that you're going to be doing that often, but it is nice to have that feature if you needed it. The only other improvement I would suggest is with the probes. I love these probes. The inclusion of the silicon wired probes with the gold plated tips is fantastic. You get that on the deluxe model. There's various options. If you have a look on their website, you can get the basic probes or you can get the deluxe probes, and then there's a DM40 A, B or C. The C is the one with all the bells and whistles. It's got the best spec and it allows you to do that AC and DC simultaneous measurement. The only suggestion I would make with these probes is that if they did a split cover, that you could take the top of the tip off and leave this bit covered up so you don't accidentally short anything out when you're probing around the board. You could actually just put a bit of heat sink on it and it'd be absolutely fine. But they're really good probes. Do really like these with the silicon wires and the angled plugs. I think these are really great, and they're a great addition. They go really well with the DM40C. So if you're looking for a handheld multi-device, this 3-in-1 multimeter could well be the one for you. If you do want to check it out, I'll leave the links in the video description down below, and big thanks to Alientek for sending over this 3-in-1 multimeter for me to take a look at. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, massive thanks to everyone for watching, sharing, liking and subscribing. Big thanks to all my YouTube members, and don't forget you can support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee if you feel like it. It helps to support the channel and helps me to make more cool videos. I'll be back soon with some more of those, but in the meantime, take care and I'll see you on the next one.